Hello, welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. As always, joined by Ethan and Mitch, filming straight after the win. How are we, boys?
I'm content. I'm caught up. I'm happy because, like we've said all year, these types of games have never been a good afternoon for the Baggers. We usually drop these or win these by a small margin, but this year we've just got it done, and we got it done again today.
All right.
Exactly what Duffy said there. I just think there wasn't really much else to really say. I think it was just a game that we kind of had to win. But my word, it was boring. I thought it was a very, very, very boring game of footy. I know that we kind of turned it around in the second half. But I think it was the first Carlton game that I was actually started to yawn. But I think it was just down to. I think it was kind of just down to the Giants kind of just not really having much of a fan base there, because when they kicked goals, it was nothing. So, but their brand of footy was very, very boring, GWS. So, I'm glad that we walked out with a 36-point win.
Everyone was taking hangers. Charlie's kicking goals, and it was boring. Fair enough.
I'm talking about the Giants brand of footy. I know at halftime I was just about to let's have a small power nap with a 20-minute halftime break.
That's great. I love that. Obviously 13-12-90, GWS 86-54, 6 goals in the end. 12-6, haven't moved on the ladder, and also Collingwood obviously won, which doesn't help. But I was by 48, so 2 goals off. Heath, how much do you have us by, mate?
I had us by 55, which 3 goals off, which is I'll take it.
Take it. Hello, you're the closest.
Blue Bags by 29 points. I think we should have probably been a lot more than 36 points. I think we had our chances once again in that last quarter to really start to get going. But just a chance to kind of get our percentage going. But yeah, we got a little bit of percentage, but would have hoped for a little bit more. Yeah,
absolutely. Obviously, I did miss this game. First game I've missed in Melbourne all year, so I watched from home. But I didn't think it was boring watching from home. But obviously, Charlie as well is pretty much not sewn up to Coleman, but he's 5 in front, I think, of Cameron at the moment. I think about 5 with 4 games to go. So it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, no, he is. He's just. I say all the time about Charlie, he just finds a way to kick his 3+ every week, which is going to keep us in good stead for finals footy, because if he's kicking 3 in a game, we're probably in the game. So, it's good.
Absolutely, mate. So we had 6 less handballs this week with 36 more kicks than last week. Were we more deadly by foot, and we chose to, actually take ground rather than all that handball we tried to do last week? Did you notice that, Ethan, or did you see it differently?
Oh, definitely. Obviously, versing a probably lesser opponent probably makes it a bit easier to go forward. But I still feel like there was a few moments in that game where we just need to just get on the boot. I know we got 36 more kicks, but I think it was probably around the 50 where it was like Cripps to Fisher. It was about 700 handballs, and we were just all over the place, and just no one actually had the poise to just keep the goal. But we had a lot more confidence today, I feel. Obviously, Marvel's kind of our stomping ground this year, which is good. But it was our movement was much better by foot.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I thought it was 36. You can argue we should have won by more in the end, but I feel like we always had them at bay. I was never worried at any stage. We won for. I think they were leading for 10 minutes, I think, throughout the match. It was always pretty confident. It was one of them ones where we didn't absolutely go out there and pump them. We just made sure we held them at bay, and that we did. But Pato, how did you see the handball and kicking?
Yeah, overall, I think it was just a little bit of just how we kind of play at Marvel, especially because I know that last week probably didn't really see it as much. We probably saw a lot more handballs, and it was good that we kicked it more today. Of course, the game is football, so I want to try and see as many kicks as possible. But I think when we do start to handball a little bit more, especially in Marvel, I don't really mind it because it is quite a dry track. But I think other than that, I think there were probably a lot of opportunities for us to really start to get the game on our terms. But as Duff said, I just think, and Sammy said as well, I just think we kind of just always just held them at bay the whole time. We never really gave them a sniff. Yes, they led for maybe 5-10 minutes of the game. But other than that, I was comfortable with the whole game. I know that I was a little bit shitty because we probably should have won by a lot more. But other than that, Baggers win.
You were comfortable the whole game, mate, because you were snuggled up, buddy, sleeping. How did you see Paddy Cripps? So 34 disposals, 13 of which were kicks, 21 handballs. He does like a handball. And I guess in that position, you sort of do handball a bit more. But used it at, I think it's here, 55%. How did you see his game, Ed?
I thought he was good today, Paddy. Just a contested ball. I just thought it's I think at 34. I think he had 34, 13 kicks, 21 handballs. Pretty okay for a guy in his role. He's had some games where he's had 8 kicks and 400 handballs. So, but for me, I just think it's just something. I don't know. It's just that killer instinct. He's just lost it a bit. I don't know. I think me personally, I think the reason is just due to that having less time up forward. Just due to having, him doing the ruck here and there and the stoppages and kind of, I don't know, playing more defensive. But yeah, I thought he was better today. I think I read a tweet saying, the expectations we have of him are so really fucking high. Like the highest out of any player, in my opinion. Like every week we talk about him. There's just something about him. And obviously he's shown that in past years, but geez, you look at 34, it's a pretty good game.
Well, it's exactly double what he had last week. So got plenty more of the ball, which is only a good thing. Pat, how'd you read it, mate?
Yeah, I agree somewhat with Cooper. I think as you said, I guess the impact in a way. He looks a little bit lost. I know that. I know that we spoke about it before we went on air, but I think just when he took that shot and it was about 45 meters out and he had a snap, and I'm like, he kind of already looked like, with his body language, it already looked like he was probably thinking that he was going to miss it. I'm like, if you think that, why would you go for a snap like that? If you're meant to do what you're most comfortable with. So that's why Harry Mackay, we kind of understand why he kicks a snap from 40 meters out. But stats, yes, 34 looks pretty good, but then you look at the efficiency, 56. So I thought he was okay. I thought he was definitely better from last week, but other than that, I wasn't too impressed with his game.
Just quickly with Cripps for mine, I think I look at his game and I think he was up there with one of the best pressure players on the ground. He had 4 tackles inside 50, which we really struggled at in the first half. I thought our smalls were appalling pressure-wise in that first half. It just seemed to get it out real quick, and it just, as soon as we got it in and didn't hit a target, didn't hit a Harry or Charlie, it just comes straight back out. So it was good to see him laying tackles inside 50 and 33 pressure acts, which I think may have led the game.
Yeah, well said. It's definitely one of them ones where you look at it stats-wise, it is pretty good. Like 1 goal, 2 as well. He pretty much almost had one of his 30 disposals, 2 goals sort of games. And one of them behind goes through for a goal. We're not really even questioning it, how big his impact was. So it's interesting. How good was it to see the Governator back, though, for mine? I think it was just good to see him out there. First game back playing seniors. It was his best game he's ever played, really. He took 7 marks, which is sort of what you want from him, his top role, taking them intercept marks. How'd you read his game, Eth?
Yeah, just obviously first game back, you're not having the high expectations. Any player that comes back, it doesn't matter how good they are. Obviously a Walsh or someone is different because he's not human, but with Gov, I thought he just ticked the boxes today for mine. Did his thing when the ball was in the air, he flew and took a mark. He took a few intercepts. I'm not sure stats wise. I'm not looking at him right now, but he just did his thing, and it kind of just our tours just had to calm down a bit, which was good. They didn't have to fly at everything, which I thought last week hurt us a little bit. With Wiedering and Young flying up, you didn't have that kind of Gov being able to fly up for them, really. But yeah, he just ticked the boxes, and hopefully he can have a blinder against his old team next week.
Well said, mate. Before I go to Pato, I'll ask you again. Obviously, Plowman played, used it at about 100%, played pretty well, I would have thought. With Gov, were you surprised they both played, and how do you read, I guess, that combination, I guess?
I thought Plowman's best game of the year. Number one rated player on the ground, which is phenomenal. 18 touches, 100% disposal efficiency, which I don't know how it's 100% when he slipped over in that point, but I think it might have hit the target. But no, for me, he was fantastic. Did his job. Like we said, obviously, Pato's under the pump, put fucking Plow right under the pump. But he was really fantastic and stood up.
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan of the show, Plow. So I dare say he took Pato's advice, and it's all on you, Pato. So, but yeah, we'll go to you, mate. How did you read Plow's game and also Gov's game as well? And were you surprised they both played together?
I was surprised that they both played together. I feel like just especially with Gov coming in, I just thought that would probably have Plowman straight out, especially with having a Nick Newman there. So that's what I was quite interested to see in a way, because I'm like, okay, well, obviously Vossi he's gonna see what's gonna happen with Plowman and McGovern, because I know that I spoke about it during the week. I don't see him to be a best 23 player when everyone's fit. But yeah, I mean, I thought he was really, really, really good. I thought that he responded. I know that I put him under the pump, but I just think that's just down to how I kind of see him as a player. Like, I know that during the year I had him down as my most improved player at the halfway point. So I just thought that he was starting to get some really good form going, starting to look like that 2020 form that he had. So I'm really pleased. I know that I am quite harsh on our players, but I think it's just because of the high expectations that I have with so many of these players. And I'm just so stoked to see him start to look a little bit more comfortable. He didn't really have to worry, because I know that there was a guy behind me who was screaming and giving Plowman shit every single time he got the ball. And I'm like, well, if you give him a chance, he'll show you how it's done.
There you go, mate. And Gov, good to see him back.
Yeah. I mean, like, of course. I think it's just, as you boys said, I just think it's just what we missed. I know that this is a player that really will make our side so much better going into September. So I think it was great to see him back out there. Of course, playing in the senior side, but I just think that it'll be quite interesting to see what actually happens with McGovern moving forward, and who actually comes in to, of course, fill that role back in the back six.
Well said, mate. All right, let's go to Ethan with the bit of a review of the matchups.
Yeah, so obviously, once again, like last week, we kind of looked around the ground, and, the Giants, the team they put out today wasn't, the Giants of old. Every line, like Pato said earlier, just every line there was a superstar, and there just really wasn't today. There's a few no-namers, but not to disrespect the Giants, good on them. But we'll start off with Plow, who we just touched on. We expected him to take Toby Green. So it was a bit of a change during the whole game. And obviously, Vossi touched on in the press conference that Wiedering had some time on Toby Green. How did you – I'll just touch on just defensively, how good did we play on Toby Green, Pato?
He definitely had the better first half. I probably think Vossi was probably like one of the only things that he really circled on the whiteboard at halftime was this. We had to stop this guy, because I know that at Marvel, when they do the Macca's halftime break, I know that they were speaking about, of course, how GWS, the only way that they really will get a hold of this contest is if one of their star players, and probably one of their only game winners out there today, Toby Green, was to start to get going. So I'm glad that we put our best defender on their best forward. So I'm really glad to see that Vossi actually took that risk and, of course, paid off.
Yeah, and, Toby's one of those guys that he's so hard to defend because he's able to get the ball high up the ground, similar to our key forwards in Harry and Charlie Curnow. What were your thoughts on just the back six as a collective being able to kind of minimise Toby Green's impact on the game, Sammy?
Yeah, I thought they done very well. I do like the whole I did like the whole best defender on best forward type mentality, not worrying about size or anything like that. I mean, Toby kicked 3 goals, took a pretty good mark, but I think he did actually use it pretty averagely at times as well. Some of his kick forward, I'm not sure of his percentage, but I would be surprised if it's much more than 60, to be honest. But Yeah, I think we played really, really well. And I do like that when he does go off the ground, it wasn't necessarily the same defender going with him. We had the ability to call players over and all that, which I think was really good. And yeah, I mean, they scored 54 points in the end. I thought we done pretty well.
Yep, spot on, Sammy. We'll move on to the ruck contest. Obviously, it's a big talking point, obviously, for Carlton in the last probably 14 weeks of Pito's injury, and how can we cover that? And obviously, we've covered it pretty well with TDK and Sauce. I thought both were very good today. I think Tommy, man, like the one instance was when he hit up Harry before quarter time.
Yeah.
You don't see many ruckmen you don't see Prusy on the run hitting blokes on the tit there. Like Prusy does his thing, but Tommy he is something different. What were your thoughts on his game, Pato?
Yeah, Tommy's a different beast, isn't he? I mean, I know that when we played against West Coast, I think it was, when, of course, we were talking about him kind of relating his game to, of course, Nick Nat. Like that's just Nick Nat like, and he's doing it in his own way. I don't think his ball use is like I don't think Nick Nat's ball use is as good as TDK's. I think his ruck tap, his ruck work is just next level. But also his ball use is like it's sauce like, but TDK is just taller. And this guy can generally be a midfielder, and I think TDK. He kind of reminds me of like a Blixars that we played against last week, but of course TDK is a better ruckman. So yeah, I just think, I mean, once again, it was another test against Big Prusy, the big house, but I think he did fantastic. I'm just really stoked for him that he's starting to get this sole ruckman time, and hopefully when Pitnet does come back in, he can just shoot up from there.
Yeah, and for mine, I think they had Kieran Briggs as their second ruck, who's a big fella as well. He's an actual ruckman. So I thought Sauce was great today. He muscled out the ruckman. Marking like you got to just credit Sauce, like really how he's been able to cover the loss of Pito and all the keys. He can cover any position if we have to. What were your thoughts on TDK's game, Sammy?
Yeah, I mean, we say it every week just about how well he's done since Pito's gone out. And, yeah, I thought he played pretty well. I mean, I think he got sort of smacked in the hit-outs overall, 48-19. But, I mean, that's been pretty consistent. Like, our hit-outs are probably sort of bottom four, I would have thought, bottom five probably overall. But I think it's just because, as you said, like, I think with Pito and TDK coming back in, it's going to be just so good because they're so different in the sense that Pito, like, we saw it at the VFL. You boys were there. You saw him he just knocks blokes over. He actually just comes in like a train and just if you're in his way, he will knock you over. There's people getting like limping off because Pito just knocks over. And TDK can't do that because he's not as, I guess, big like Pito is. But yeah, just his around the ground work. Like they said, 30 years ago, people with his height, you're just literally a tap ruckman. That's all you would do. You wouldn't be picking the ball up. You wouldn't be fucking hitting forwards, lace out. You wouldn't be doing it. And just on that, I think GWS's reserves, we obviously got the win as well. They're playing, I think, without a proper ruck, but I think the hit out, so I get it up here, I think they had maybe 3 for the game. Pito had 35.
35, man.
So 35, Murkoff 23, and Jess Glass McCaskill 1.
Did Pitt come off?
He came off as well. Three-quarter time, half time around there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it might have been half time, and I'm pretty sure he had 4 clearances as well at up time. So he was really bullying. And like you said, obviously the hit outs haven't been in our favour since Pito's gone out. But once he comes back in, they will rise. Trust me, they will rise. In that first 5 rounds, I think he was leading the league in hit out to advantage. So that's just going to be great for our group. And geez, it's exciting having some players back in the side, we deserve it, honestly, because we've weathered the storm and, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Did you have something to say, mate?
Yeah, sorry, mate. Just on that, I think that you said it as well. Hit outs to advantage is a big thing. Hit outs is sort of, it's a decent enough stat, but it shows you it doesn't matter when we're getting smashed by 29 hit outs and still pretty tough, neck and neck with clearances. He has to advantage is a big thing. And as you said, I was leading that. So if he comes in, takes most of the ruck, responsibilities, TDK obviously goes on when Pito's out, when Pito goes off, I should say. They'll complement each other so well come finals time, I would have thought.
Yeah, and I'm just excited to see TDK up forward, to be honest with you. I know we've got Harry and Charlie, but he and that enables a Harry or a Charlie to push real high, and then you still got 2 keys. Just think about that. Just think about 95,000 at the G against the Pies. We'll move on to the next matchup. Walshy had a superb game. He's a freak. The kid is a freak. He will go down as one of Carlton's greatest ever players in years to come. Obviously, we matched him up against Hopper, just being that kind of similar, being able to push forward. He won this matchup by the length of the Flemington Straight. Like Pato said in the preview, Hopper, he's not great, is he? Is he, Pato?
No, mate. I know that. I know that I did say a little bit, but I mean, as I said, I just think that Hopper, he's got that. He's got the potential, but he just can't really put it together. So I reckon he's going to probably move away from GWS and just try and find another home. But just about Walshy, I mean, dude, like he finished with 31 touches. He was off the ground for 12 minutes. We all thought that he did his syndesmosis. Next minute, he walks out with 31 touches. And can I just say, Walshy, when he went off and he came back on, all the crowd was going off. No. But can I just say, I think he had redemption because I'm like, because he just had that sort of, like, okay, well, obviously we needed to kind of get back into it now. I need to step up. And he had that sort of redemption mindset. And it's just leadership qualities that he's every single week he's coming out. Every single week he's just improving it. Oh my God, I'm so stoked that we have Sam Walsh on our list.
Yeah, spot on, Pato. Sammy Walsh, he's 23, I think now. 22?
Mate,
20.
Come on.
Mate,
Give me a spell.
Come on now. Best player in the comp. What were your thoughts on Walsh's game, Carlton?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they injected him with when he went off, but he played well up until that point. But after he came back on as well, from his rolled ankle or whatever it was, he was just electric. But yeah, as Pato said, he just killed it, and Hopper was pretty average.
Yeah, I don't even know if the club will really want him. To be honest, he's just he's
very mediocre, I reckon. He's just
okay. He's good on his day, but his days doesn't come very often. We'll move on up forward for the baggers, and it's Big H, who I'm looking at his stats right now, and fuck, they're good stats. They are good. Like, you look at it and you go, he kicked 2 goals. He had 18 touches, 10 marks, 10 score involvements, 300 meters gained, and kicked 2 into the post. So he could have had 4. Could have had 4 and 18. So you go, geez, it's close. Yeah. What were your thoughts on Harry's game, Pato?
I think Harry was really good. I think he just responded, especially from last week, because we were a little bit nervous about the big Harry. I know I was, because he just got a little bit beaten from SEK last week, and he had a marking contest, I think about 5 minutes in, and he just got pushed out. I think Haynes went back, because of course Haynes went back today, which I think was quite interesting. But I think it was Taylor just pushed him out, and I'm like, just try harder, Harry, try harder. And I think from that point onwards, we saw why he won the Common last year. We saw why he's one of the best forwards in the comp, and we saw why he's just such a vital component of this side.
Yep, spot on, Sammy. How's Big H's performance, mate?
I'll couple him with Kerno as well, just in the sense that they had 10 marks each, which is very, very good. I think it comes down to the delivery as well. Just going inside 50 was obviously a lot better this week than what it was last week. Plus, we got it in there more, which always helps. But yeah, I think he played pretty well. And I don't mind Taylor. I think he's pretty good. Like SDK last week, going to be a champion, but I think Taylor is a good player. But yeah, I think Harry done very well. So Charlie.
Yeah, and like we say, I think for me, if they combine for 6, which I think they did, we're probably a very, very good chance of winning the football game, considering the way we're playing this year. So on to you, Sammy.
Thanks, Ace, mate. That was very good, as usual. We'll get through a few different stats now, and just sort of, I guess, where we won the game stats-wise. Looking at the possessions, I mean, we had a lot more of the ball. I think uncontested possessions was a big thing. We just had players in space. We actually hit them. Like, I think the VFL, we done that pretty well as well. We had players in space, and we actually pinpoint accuracy got them to him. We had 280 uncontested possessions. Our average is about 243. What did you put that down to, Ethan? The space the players sort of got, or just running for each other, or?
Yeah, no, those points definitely. I think I've got one name for you, and that's Lockie O'Brien. That is Lockie O'Brien. The space that he provides for this football team, moving up the ground, is so important. And if I hear one more person say he's still at 20 today, at 78%, and people say he's kicking shit. Like the guy, like start from the bounce, I knew we're going to win because he would spread, gets an easy touch out, cuts the angles. Even if he doesn't get the ball, he provides space for Harry to lead into. It's just champagne footy, but it's just being able to, spread from the contest. And that's what we lacked last week. I felt not naming names or anything, but, I felt obviously Hayes he's more of a mid kind of winger. He'd go inside a bit more than outside, and Lockie knows where he has to be. He knows the zone he has to play in. And I think Cottrell was fantastic with that as well today. So credit to them. And Setters. I thought Setters was fantastic and played the wing role great, fantastically.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Setters, I said it last week and week before maybe, but I think he's too good for VFL personally. I know there's a few people that don't rate him. Same as Lockie O'Brien, as you said. I think he cops way too much shit. But, Pato, we'll go to you, mate.
Yeah, I think that's all down to just the wingers doing their role. I personally think Lockie O'Brien was probably our biggest in alongside McGovern. I just think that his sort of run, his structure to this, his role in this structure suits him so much. And we're just a better side with him. And I didn't actually realise how much of an impact he actually will have in this side. So I'm just so stoked to start to see him just gain some confidence. But yeah, I think him, O'Brien, Cottrell, and of course Setterfield. I know that I was a little bit nervous about Setterfield, but I thought he was fantastic. And I think they're definitely, those three will probably stay in for the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. With these names you're throwing out, Pato, I don't want to end this bloke's career or anything. What happens to Nunes going forward, Pato? Is he fit in there?
I think the only way that Nunes kind of gets in is if one of those three gets injured. I think they are probably the three of those are our wingers. I always like having three wingers. I don't really like having two, but I like Cottrell going forward. Like his ball use and his scoring. Like I was nervous. I'm like when he had that shot, I'm like, oh, he might shank it, mate. Trust him. He just goes back and nails it. And no, it's very good to see that these guys are starting to evolve under the Vossi structure.
Absolutely. Before we go to you, Ethan, for the same question, I think what it has to come, as you said, Vossi, it comes down to, like, Cottrell's not Sam Walsh. He's on champion at the end of the day, but these are players that are playing in the right positions. They're getting the best out of themselves, which, to be fair, is what happens in premiership sides. You have so many players. You look at the Doggies back in, was it 2016, whatever it was? They had so many players in that side where they weren't champions. Like Picken, maybe. Like he, each final game he played out of his skin. Like wasn't a champion probably, but they just played the best to their abilities, Ethan.
No, 100%. And, like Pato said, it's the way the whole three winger setup. I just love it. Especially when they can go forward. For me, the previous games, I just didn't get the whole Nunes playing a halfback. I didn't get that. It was a bit of a liability. It was a massive liability, sorry. But it just kind of just ruined the flow we had in our back six. So, it'll be tough for him to get back in. But, geez, Setters, he was knocking down the door and then it just is seamless. It's a seamless coming back into the side. At Carlton, when the fuck have we had a twos player come in and it's seamless? Really, like in previous years to this, every twos player that comes in tends to struggle, really. Like a Dow or something, like obviously Nick Graham, who's the number one twos player of all time, but never played good in the ones. Like those types of players. This year, it's just a seamless change.
Do you want to know what I think that goes down to? It goes down to, you said blokes knocking down the door. Setterfield wasn't knocking down the door. He'd smashed the door 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
He didn't dominate once, and we go, come on, mate, straight into the team. You get 30 disposals, 4 weeks in a row, kick goals, do whatever you do consistently. Then you fucking play in the seniors instead of just a flash in the pan, because we've actually got players to choose from now. whereas we haven't had that in the past.
Yeah, no, it changes big time. What he had 40 last week in the twos, like after 330s. So it's like you have to pick him. You're forced to go in the side, which is fantastic.
Another thing that I think our win comes down to, we spoke about delivery inside 50, Kerno, Mackay, 10 marks each, Sardi, 12 marks, one of which being market of the year. Right? Which is just crazy. But 124 marks to 92. We kept them below their average whilst also taking 25 more than our average, 18 of which were marks inside 50, which I think is just crazy. You're taking, as we say it every week, you're taking 18 marks inside 50. That's 18 opportunities pretty much to kick a goal. So how did you read that, Heath?
Yeah, well, for me, when you're taking more marks inside 50 than the other team, it's probably giving you a very, very high chance of winning the game of footy. And obviously last weekend against the Cats, we only lost by 5 goals. And I don't know what the stats were, but geez, we could barely take a grab inside 50, like a grab at all. In our D50, inside, in our forward 50, in the whole ground, we couldn't take one. So it's a massive improvement. Obviously, the team we verse are, superb, and they're pretty, average. But you got to be able to do it against these average sides, so then you can lift versus a good side like a Brisbane in a few weeks and a Melbourne, and obviously Collingwood, who are in form.
Absolutely, mate. So I'll run through the marks from last week real quick compared to this week. So we took 82 marks last week. This week, 124.
Yep.
8 of which were inside 50. This week, 18 were inside 50. So that's 10 more. Pretty much shots at goal. As we spoke about, 4 contested marks last week. We took 12 contested marks this week. Just smashed what we did last week. Different oppositions, obviously. But Pato, how'd you read that, mate?
Yeah, I think you said perfectly there. I just think it was just a lot of just structure, I guess. And yes, it probably was to do a little bit with Giants aren't a great side at all. And the way that I kind of see our improvement is just doing it against the best sides. Like I know that I've been seeing these stats for probably when we were playing against maybe North Melbourne and Adelaide when we played against those two teams. And I was like, okay, well, these are the stats we were kind of seeing. And then we kind of really didn't see it when we started playing against some good sides. So that's my main concern, and I'm just excited to see in the next few weeks with how we can kind of just elevate our game, because obviously our best footy is it's good enough. Like I know that a lot of people are saying, yeah, we can't do it consistently enough, but our type of footy is finals footy. So if we can just keep on improving week by week, it's going to be exciting times, really.
Absolutely, mate. Well said. All right. We spoke about how good our defence was as well. We'll get stuck into our best on ground now. Heath, who do you have, mate?
Adam Sard, All-Australian, best halfback in the competition, will win the Carlton BNF. I reckon it'll be him and Walshy neck and neck for mine. Today, obviously, like you said, 1 mark of the year. We'll just call it mark of the year because fuck everyone else. 23 disposals, 95.5% kicking efficiency. That is nuts because the kicks he takes on are harder than a lot of blokes take on. So he's one of the best kicks I've seen live in a football game. At all levels, in all years, he is fantastic. He's just entertainment, isn't he? Like you go to a game and you go, geez, like imagine a little kid right now. Imagine if you're a 5-year-old Carlton supporter and you go, like how good say, like just be such an inspiration. Obviously, we had those types of guys when we were younger. Your Cade Simpsons and all those types. Obviously, Sardi's a bit different to that, but you've got your heroes, and obviously Sardi's he's just been an enormous pickup. 8 intercept possessions, 12 marks, like we said earlier, 5 intercept marks, number 1 for the game. 6 score involvements, 2 tackles, 4 inside 50s, 4 rebound 50s, 581 metres gained. Drop the mic, mate. He's too good.
Absolutely, mate. It was ridiculous. Pato?
Yeah, I did. I really did want to go for Sardi. Just looking at his stats, like my word, I just think that 12 marks, 5 intercept marks, 6 score involvements. That's a key back sort of stats, mate. And you're seeing it from Sardi, the big wolf. How good is that going around the bubble save as well? But Yeah, I do agree, completely agree. But I like you boys know that I always like talking about someone different. And I've got Matt Kennedy, Bam Bam. I just think that he's just each week he's improving this guy. And my word, I just think because I know at the start of the last year, I just think this guy was probably on the other side of it. Like it was probably like a fringe sort of player. Arguably, he was probably not looking great to really get some midfield time. And as soon as he got that opportunity last year, I can remember it was, of course, against his former side, GWS. He has set the world on fire, man, and he just hasn't stopped. Like, he is by far, like, I know that I said player during the year, most improved. I think this guy's taken over, and he really is arguably up there for best and fairest because he's just his impact. Like, I know that I've got the stats here. He's got 27 touches, same as Chera, which is another talking point. But I think just 6 tackles as well. Like, that's just fantastic for an inside mid, and 78% efficiency. That's something that he's improved on, because I know that in past years his ball use has been arguably a little bit overrated. I just don't think his ball use has been overly great. But this year and last year as well, he's just, so many things are coming together, and just love the way he plays, love the way he goes about it, and I'm so pleased that these guys are starting to come together.
Absolutely, mate. He's a tough unit, and if it wasn't for certain coach that didn't really want to play him a couple of coaches ago, and just to see these players be what they are now, he's absolutely phenomenal. I went with a pretty safe one. I went Walsh. I think just once he came back on after that incident, he came back on and was just absolutely played out of his skin. Also, credit to Plough, as you mentioned, Heath. I think he was absolutely one of his. We've said it a few times, which is, just shows the hate this bloke gets is probably not warranted, but played one of the better games of his career. And as we said, I thought Setters was pretty good as well. Pato, you mentioned Chera real quick before we wrap it up. How'd you read his game, mate? Got a bit of the ball. Did he use it well, Pato?
Yeah, no, he didn't. I think it's pretty... we look at the stats there. I mean, like, he had 82% efficiency. So, it's like, you look at the stats, but I just think... I know that we spoke about it during the game. I think his big asset is his kicking. I think he's one of the best kicks in the team. But obviously today, it wasn't there. Just the way that I'm seeing it, I just think, I mean, from the eye, the way that I see it is just, I think he's just lost a little bit of confidence. I think when he's come back from that injury, he's not looking like the Chera that we once kind of knew at the start of the year. And of course, why we picked him up last year for such a high draft pick. So I think he can get there. I just think it's just starting to get some more games together in the midfield. But yeah, I was, I mean, of course the stats there, like you kind of think that he's probably alongside the McKenny, but yeah, I don't think he was nearing as same the impact as McKenny or a Walsh.
Do you want to know, before I go to Ethan, because you're going to mention the efficiency, would this not dictate the efficiency? The fact that he had, I had it here, 10 kicks, 17 handballs. Your handballs should be more often than not are going to be more effective than your kicks. I mean, that's just common sense. Whereas Kennedy had 16 kicks, which is the reverse, 16 kicks, 11 handballs. So he's kicking the ball more, Kennedy, whereas Chera's gone more to handball it. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying your efficiency, in theory, is it going to be better if you're handballing it more, Ethan? How'd you read Chera's game?
Yeah, well, you look at that and you go, Cripper's had 21 handballs and 55%. So, no, I agree. I 100% agree. Obviously, handballing's a little bit easier. I agree partly. I just think people think, obviously, he's on a high pay and we got him in. And, I think people, obviously, you got to think about it. But you get to a point where you've got to move on and not talk about the deal. We've got the player, move on. Like, did we really need that pick? Probably not. Probably not right now. He's 22. He's pretty much another pick. Like, he's developed in his early years of the Dockers. And for mine, I just think the first half he really struggled. Obviously, just as a whole, we didn't really connect well to our forwards. Like Pato said, a few of his inside 50s were a bit iffy, but I thought he lifted in the second half. He does tackle a fair bit. Obviously, he's got 6 tackles today, and he does lay a few good ones. You look inside, and he does his thing. And like I've seen it in a few like Twitter threads about Chera, people are going, he does not get enough. But you look at the mids around him. You look at the mids, and you go, geez, Cribber 34, Walsh 31, Kennedy 27, and he's still got 27. So you go, he's still being able to find 25 plus in a midfield that gets a lot of the pill. Because I don't think he's an accumulator. I think he's more of a quality over quantity type of guy. So, I think he's been okay. I think he adds a lot to the team, though, in terms of just a difference in our midfield.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think I do agree with the accumulator thing. I think we have a few players that are a bit of both in the sense that they're the accumulators, but also use it well. But I do agree where Chera's more just that classy type, a few less disposals, but uses them very well. VFL, huge win. I think the Blues collectively across seniors and twos spent 11-goal win overall, I think. So it's pretty good. Both being around that sort of 6-goal margin. It's pretty good weekend to be a Blue Bagger, boys.
Yeah, mate. I just think it's just good that the VFL is also performing well. Because we haven't seen this in the past few years. Like, yes, we've had very, very limited success in the senior side, but the VFL side hasn't been great either. So it's just great to see, start to see both performing well. It's just great that guys like Paddy Dow, who once again perform pretty well in the VFL, once again probably won't get a game for the rest of the year.
Yeah, just quickly on the twos. I think, don't know what his name is. I keep forgetting his name. He's the development coach and he's the reserves coach.
O'Keefe.
Yeah, O'Keefe. Shout out to him because our ones would not be in the position they are without him. He's the development coach. He's in the box for the ones. He's developed all these guys, Kennedy's, all these types of blokes. And you look at the twos, and the VFL listed players are playing out of their skin, like really well. You got Ned Carley was at Essendon, Trudgeon. There's a few different VFL names, and they're young blokes. And we've had injuries to our ones, and they're still doing well on the twos. It just shows you how good of a coach he is. I think they're in the top 4. And, injuries hurt the ones. They hurt the twos even more because you're bringing guys out of the twos. And obviously, you've had some good sides like Richmond VFL who are below us, but they just tend to have that depth in the twos. They're doing fantastically and hopefully both go deep into finals.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, we are 4th at the moment, and I think what you said was absolutely perfect. Dan O'Keefe has done very well. I think him and also Luke Power, a few names you could reel off. They've all done sensationally, and it was good to see. Before we go though, what's your opinion on Stocker, Ethan? We'll go to you because I know you love the bloke. You got he played twos, didn't play the greatest game of all time, but where do you read him at, mate?
It's a bit of a weird one because obviously our kind of halfback stocks are a bit been struck with injury with Boyd and Williams. I think they all kind of play that position. Stocker's very different to those two, in my opinion. I don't know. I just feel like he's a bit more of a presence, maybe physically and maybe in the air than those two. But I just feel like he's really, I don't know, he's just not really taking the steps that we thought he would. And maybe that might mean he needs to switch to back to the midfield next season or needs to change the way he plays because I just don't think he's been good enough, in my opinion. I thought he had enough of it last week in Geelong, but according to a lot of people, that Voss was not very happy with his game last week and kind of played opposite to the way we want to play. So, and that's a good thing about Voss. It's not about performance all the time. It's about individual performance. It's about how you fit in that system. And obviously guys like Lockie Plowman are fit in the system and people go, oh, he only had 10 Dutches, but he fit the system. So, it's a bit of a weird one. I like Stock. I'm not afraid to have him in the side at all, but I just feel like he can play better.
Absolutely. I think you said it there before we wrap it up. The players that are performing the best don't necessarily go into the team. And back to my logic before about the team, you have to be consistent in the VFL. Yes, Dow has been consistent in the VFL, but you've also got to come in and fit into that system. You could argue Dow's maybe a better player than some of the players that played today, but it's how they fit into the system. Exactly right. I think that just about wraps it up, boys. Thank you for watching or listening as always, and make sure to like, follow, subscribe, do it all. And Pat, you got the scarf there, mate, as always.
And as always, boys, up the baggers.